Right, good morning everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to this Cabinet meeting and quickly go over some general housekeeping. This meeting is being held in person at County Hall and is also being streamed live on the County Council's YouTube channel. Well, it should be, but it isn't, so you'll get audio only. And for those of you in any doubt, I'm Councillor Kay Mason-Billig and I'm Chairman of Cabinet. The recording of the audio will be available afterwards. Under the Council's protocol on the use of media equipment at meetings held in public, this meeting may be filmed, recorded or photographed. Anyone wishing to do so must inform me and ensure that it's done in a way that's clearly visible to everyone present. The wishes of any individual not to be recorded or filmed must be appropriately respected. A fire alarm test is not expected during the meeting. If the alarm sounds, we must evacuate County Hall. In the event of an emergency, please make your way to the nearest exit and meet at the muster point located on the main car park. So we'll move on to the agenda then. Item 1 is apologies for absence, please.
We've received apologies today from Councillor Alison Thomas.
Thank you. Item 2 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of January. You'll find that on your agenda starting on page 6. Can I ask for all those in favour to confirm the minutes to please show? Agreed. Thank you, that is agreed. Item 3 is declaration of interests. Do Cabinet members have any interests that they wish to declare? Councillor James.
Thank you, Chair. Just really for the avoidance of doubt, in relation to item 21, the Norfolk County Council owned company business plans, just a reminder to the team that I am a director on the board of Repton. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest? No one is indicating. So we'll move on to item 4, which is matters referred to Cabinet from select committees or by full council. So there are matters referred to Cabinet from the Infrastructure and Development Select Committee and from the Children, Families and Community Select Committee. The recommendations are set out on page 45 and that is that Cabinet is asked to consider the recommendations from IND and Children, Families and Communities outlined in the report, responding to issues raised and providing feedback where appropriate. So the recommendations from the two select committees are found on the table on page 46 of the agenda and are as follows. There are 2 recommendations from the Infrastructure and Development Select Committee, which is from the meeting held on the 22nd of January, and that considers Norfolk County Council and Norfolk Constabulary parking enforcement roles and responsibilities. Can I ask if Cabinet are prepared to accept that recommendation? Yep. Agreed. That is agreed. The second recommendation is from the Children, Families and Communities Select Committee meeting held on the 10th of February 2026, where they considered the Department for Education High Needs Capital announcement and our considerations and response. And there is a recommendation there. Councillor Carpenter, did you want to comment on this?
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm delighted to say that I have followed the recommendation and we have contacted the Department of Education to confirm the building of the 2 new special schools in Norfolk.
That's fantastic news. Thank you very much. So those are the comments and feedback on the recommendations, and we will note the recommendations from the select committees and that they will be carried out. So item 5 is updates from the Chair. I have no updates to give at this moment, but Cabinet members, Councillor Eagle.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just actually like to highlight, last year we gave a grant under Love Your Market towns to Downham Market to have a talk from one of the surviving Air Force men from World War II who flew out of Downham Market, and the gentleman was over 100, so we did stretch the rules a bit to make sure that could happen, and we thought it was a valued part of the local history. We just add, he will actually be 105 this Thursday. He's still going strong, so this is Colin Bell. But not only that, since then, he's actually published a book, and it's called Bloody Dangerous. His choice of words, not mine, and probably quite suited from what he said. And he flew nighttime bombing missions in mosquitoes from Downham Market. So he's done his book, and it's also started being serialised in the Daily Mail this weekend. So I think it deserves a mention. I know it's not the normal thing we mention, but I think first of all, recognise one of those people of that that generation far beyond mine who did things as a matter of course and put their lives daily at risk, and still be here at 105 telling us about that effort. And he has helped actually Downham Market get themselves on the map with the Love Your Market Town, and gave a very interesting talk last year.
Thank you, Councillor Eagle. That's absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad you said that, not me. We all know what happens when I open my mouth. Anyway, I hope that Colin Bell will hear these words, but I think the whole council would like to congratulate him on his 105th birthday on Thursday. Our veterans are sadly dwindling from that era, and we need to respect them and look up to them and the sacrifice that they made, and their comrades who didn't make it home. We thank them very much for their service. He is an incredibly brave man, and we wish him the very, very best wishes for Thursday and a happy 105th birthday. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Councillor Eagle. Are there any other updates? No one is indicating. So we'll move on then to public question time. And that's item 6. And the list of public questions and responses has been circulated and published on the website. And we do have a member of the public with us, Richard Adcock, who's attending to ask a supplementary question. The supplementary question should be up to 75 words or briefer, and should relate to the substantive question or respond to it, and should set out which cabinet member it's directed towards. Please, Mr. Adcock.
Thank you. Voting shambles. I believe it's being done deliberately by government to implement people control agenda, 15-minute city, C40 cities, low traffic neighbourhoods, ID, AI, cameras, carbon footprint, Agenda 2030. Can the council only have voting with full council meetings instead of multiple voting at different meetings, with more than 50% of councillors in attendance, and councillors with company interests should not be able to vote on that given subject? Thank you.
Well, I'll kick off. I mean, I think we do operate a cabinet system here, so the decisions are made in this forum, for example, and other key decisions do go back through full council. Members are expected to declare interests if they do have any links to anything that's a subject that's being discussed and voted on. And if they have a pecuniary interest, then the monitoring officer will advise that they shouldn't take part and they shouldn't even be in the chamber at all. So we do have safeguards in place. There is a code of conduct that all members must adhere to. And that is available on the website if you'd like to have a look at that, to satisfy yourself that we are open and transparent, and that when we make decisions, they're made in the correct manner. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your supplementary question. So we'll move on then to item 7, which is local member questions. And the list of local member questions and responses has been circulated and published on the website. I do notice that we have Brian Watkins with us, Councillor Brian Watkins, who is eligible to ask a supplementary question. And if he would like to do so, I'll hand over to you now.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for your response. At the February Budget Council meeting, you unilaterally told Norfolk that devolution and LGR were off, but now concede it is merely delayed. It seems that you have spent more time in the press talking about your personal views on LGR rather than addressing this chamber or the residents of Norfolk with an actual plan. What you accuse this government of doing, you have done yourself by flip-flopping on Norfolk's involvement with LGR. Process matters, officers' work, members' negotiations and public confidence were all sidelined by a single abrupt call. Will you therefore withdraw your off statement and apologise for misleading the county, and publish in full the governance advice and risk assessment you relied upon to determine Norfolk's future? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your supplementary question, Councillor Watkins, but I think you're being quite disingenuous in what you're saying. And if you would watch back what I actually said, Devolution is off for this administration because we have run out of time to fulfil the legal process of reconsenting to the new statutory instrument, which we don't even have at the moment. So we have no choice in that matter. Time has overtaken us, and this is something that I warned the Minister and Secretary of State about before Christmas, that if they ran us close to our election into a pre-election period, we would not be able to consent, which is regrettable because, as you will know, this council has worked tirelessly to try to get devolution over the line for Norfolk and Suffolk. I myself have worked on it for nearly 3 years. We have been marched up the hill and down again by various ministers, and we thought we got it landed this time. In fact, we consented in September, only to be thwarted yet again just before Christmas. On local government reorganisation, I was very clear that I was expressing the views of the Conservative group, and we had a pre-meeting, and this was our view on local government reorganisation. You will recall that the Secretary of State asked us about capacity for delivering devolution, local government reorganisation and all-out elections, and officers helped to put together a letter which was very clear to the Secretary of State that there was a capacity issue. And in fact, we now have officers who are scrambling around trying to book polling stations that they had stood down because we had been told that our elections were being postponed. So I appreciate all the work that's been put into this process by officers of this council. They've worked tirelessly, as have members, to try to do the government's bidding on almost impossible timescales. So no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to change my point of view on what I said about the Secretary of State, and I'm not the only one who said something similar. It was shameful the way that we have been treated because we have done our best to comply and to do the best for Norfolk, and we have been thwarted by someone who just couldn't make their mind up. So that is my position, and I have no intention of changing that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. There are no other local members here to ask supplementaries, so we'll move on to item 8, which is Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service Community Risk Management Plan 2026 to 2031. It starts on page 49 of your agenda, and I'll call upon Councillor Margaret Dewsbury to introduce the report, please.
Thank you. Fire services have been required to produce a community risk management plan since 2018. The draft plan for 2026 to 2031 came to Cabinet in October. Then it went out to public consultation until November 26th. The people and groups consulted approved of the plan, so it was presented to Strategic and Corporate Select Committee earlier this year, and now it has come here for your approval prior to being presented to full council later this month. The plan has assessed the risks across Norfolk and outlines how the service will respond to the evolving needs of Norfolk's businesses and communities over the next 5 years. The plan is supported by data analysis and a clear set of proposals on how it will prevent, protect, and respond to address the ever-changing needs resulting from climate change, new technologies, demographic changes, and lessons learned from national inquiries. By taking the time to listen, assess, and collaborate, they've developed a plan that is not only responsive, but also practical and deliverable. The plan is made up of 8 proposals, and you may have noticed that Proposal 4, Enhancing Our Response, proposed upgrading and standardising emergency responses. Previously, the response to fire incidents aimed for a 10-minute response, whilst other emergencies such as water rescue and road traffic collisions aimed for a 13-minute response. It was proposed to upgrade the standards of responding to all incidents where life may be at risk to 10 minutes, so this is now part of the plan. It was actually brought into practice at the beginning of this year and is already being achieved. So, I think that's really good. And I will just mention, probably should have done earlier, that we have just taken control of 6 new water boats to replace the old ones at the stations and provide one for training at Bowthorpe. So I move the recommendations. Would you like me to read them out or do that? Yeah, okay. So the recommendations are to note the findings of the public consultation and associated amendments to the plan for 2026 to 31, to endorse the change to the emergency response standard and associated vital signs reporting, and agree the proposed community risk management plan for 2026 to 2031, recommending adoption at full council, and subsequently update the document on the council's policy framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for the report. I would just like to highlight a part of your report, which is headed Adapting to Change, regarding the lithium batteries and the fires, the consequence of overheating and the fires that they cause, and also the vapes. They're saying that you're saying that 8 million vapes are discarded or incorrectly recycled each week in the UK, which is absolutely horrifying. And I know we've had a bin fire in one of our waste recycling vehicles in Caister. So are there any, is the fire service in general, are you liaising with the industry to try and contain these batteries? Because obviously these batteries are faulty if they are igniting themselves. So I'd like to ask that, and also I'd like to say it's been a great, I'm pleased to see Axel included in the report as well, because he's amazing. Sorry, a dog. But if perhaps you could be able to answer that, Kerry, please.
Thank you. Kerry, please.
Yeah, so obviously the question of vapes is quite a wide-ranging subject, and we are working in collaboration not only with trading standards to look at appropriate sales. Single-use vapes are obviously being kind of phased out, and we're obviously working with Graham and the wider team on appropriate disposal into the right waste categories. So we have got links into lots of different kind of departments and government lobbying groups. There's also a campaign coming out next week around lithium batteries more generally, because they, when used well, they are safe and don't pose a problem to members of the public. But we know that charging, vapes, anything that's incorrectly used, incorrectly disposed of, can cause a problem. So we'll continue to work with all of the partner agencies to make sure that we reduce the risk as much as possible. And yeah, we're very aware of the specific risks for recycling and waste collection, because they can be quite problematic, but either in the vehicles or in the recycling plants themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Nobody. Oh yes, Councillor Bensley.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Just mainly just want to say thank you to the fire service for doing what they do on the tight budget that they have. I mean, to cover the size of Norfolk is amazing, and all of the officers involved deserve great credit for us. And I think I speak for the whole cabinet here when we thank the officers and the firefighters that are on the front line that help us with road traffic collisions or normal fires. But I just want to highlight how helpful they were at Hemsby with the coastal erosion and evacuation processes, and making sure everybody is safe and implementing plans. And also just to highlight our coastal communities and how vulnerable they are regarding the environment and wildfires and dunes and them horrendous portable metal horrible barbecues that you can buy down the local shop, and people just tend to leave or bury them up in the sand, and they create massive concerns and wildfires. So anyway, just wanted to highlight some of that and thank everybody involved, from Kerry to all the firefighters for all of Norfolk, from us all. And if central government are listening or see any of our reports, if they can give more funding for our fire service regarding proper equipment for water management, flooding and erosion, that would be highly, highly welcome. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. I'm sure that Kerry Sumner, our Chief Fire Officer, will take back the grateful thanks of the Cabinet to her staff and to all firefighters and support personnel. We do seriously appreciate our Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service. We know that we, on the horizon, assuming devolution goes ahead, that the Fire and Rescue Service is expected to be rolled into the new Merrill Strategic Authority, and we are being expected by government to achieve this by April 2027, which is an enormous hill to climb, and at the moment I can't quite see how that's going to be possible, especially as we have to go in alongside Suffolk Fire and Rescue Service, which is managed in quite a different way. So it's a huge challenge, and it's also a worrying time for all of the personnel in the Fire and Rescue Service. You're right, Councillor Bensley, our Fire and Rescue Service does an amazing job, even though we're not funded in the same way that some metropolitan areas are. If only we had that sort of funding per head of population, we could do so much more. And of course we have Fast Water Rescue, which is not funded by the government, but we find the money to do that. And there's also the worry on the horizon with all the pylons that are expected to be placed in Norfolk, and the solar factories that go alongside them, and the battery energy storage systems that we are going to see in great proliferation if this is allowed to go ahead, because the fire service are often asked to inspect these sites. And they do that at taxpayers' expense, not at developers' expense, which I think is a terrible indictment of this government not to have made that compulsory for developers to pay for those inspections and to pay for re-inspections at regular intervals to make sure that those battery energy storage sites are safe for the people living in the vicinity. So we do thank you, Kerry, for all the work that you do. And you've heard the recommendations, Cabinet. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 9, which is the Crisis and Resilience Fund 2026 to 29. It starts on page 180 of the agenda, and I'm going to ask Councillor Andrew Jamieson to introduce the report, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. So this government has confirmed that the previous Conservative government's Household Support Fund will end on the 31st of March and will be replaced with their new Crisis Resilience Fund. The first thing to point out is that the government's new rules, this government's new rules, do mean that we're no longer able to provide cost of living vouchers that many families have relied upon since 2021. We have so far supported over 112,000 families since the fund started, and we will continue, though, to help families in their hour of need. But the funding for this new Crisis Resilience Fund is significantly lower than the Household Support Fund, and the 11.25 million that has been allocated to Norfolk this year marks a 20% real terms reduction over the past 2 years. These are national decisions. They're outside this Council's control, and we will continue to utilise this fund as best we can. The first point to note, the first positive point to note, is that this is a multi-year settlement, and I certainly welcome that. It runs through till 2029. As a result, we are able to make long-term plans for its use. The bulk of the funding, some 6 million, will be utilised, as the report states, via the Norfolk Assistance Scheme. This is an extremely effective scheme that Norfolk County Council has run for a number of years, and we will be able to continue to help people in their hour of need via that scheme. The County Council are also looking to invest some 3.25 million in the voluntary sector, supporting specialist local organisations to deliver outreach, community advice, debt advice and guidance, and so on, other services tailored specifically for local needs. The Crisis and Resilience Fund will align closely with wider employment and skills support that's available across the county through Norfolk County Council. Residents facing redundancy or employment barriers will continue to benefit from Norfolk's growing support offer that we have in place. These would include things like the recently announced Redundancy Support Service, which provides advice, employability help, training, and CV and interview support. The Council's Connect to Work programme, which was launched in 2025, supports residents, particularly those with disabilities and long-term health conditions, to return or to remain in employment. So I would, moving to the recommendations, we are asked to approve the proposed model and the 26-27 to 27-28 funding allocations as set out in section 3 of this report and Appendix A, and task officers to put appropriate arrangements in place to deliver. And importantly, that the Cabinet receive an update on progress in 12 months, i.e. in March 2027, to review progress and consider plans for the 27-28 period. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on this report? Councillor Eagle.
Thank you. Thank you for the report as well. Just also add, following on from the Connect to Work and the other areas, we also decided in the budget that we would invest money to help young people at the ages of 18 to 30 and veterans go into set up self-employed businesses to give them those wider opportunities. And we are also investing money to help CICs and voluntary community business accounts set up as well, and give them the necessary backing and support to make sure that they become strong and resilient and continue to help our communities in the way with the support from what we've already, Councillor Jameson has already mentioned.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Leader. I think just to support this paper and what Councillor Jameson has just delivered, we are already delivering early, clear communications to schools, families and partners about this, and providing a safety net through the crisis and resilience support for households, which is affected by the national shift away from the blanket voucher support, so that affects the children. So we are out there already. The information is being distributed. It has been distributed for quite a while on this, so that nobody's not going to get caught out by this more than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to say how much I support this paper. I think this council has supported vulnerable people for many years, and this shows our commitment to continue to do so. I know the government has changed the rules slightly, but that doesn't mean we can't support our communities. And this paper says exactly that. We will continue to support our communities, whatever rules or blockages may be put in their place to do that. So I just wanted to say how much I support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dewsbury.
Thank you. The previous funding provided warm hubs in libraries and a stigma-free base to go and get information about the different help that's available. So I was concerned at first, but I'm really pleased that we will still have the funding to provide this service in the libraries. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor James.
Thank you, Leader. At risk of waxing lyrical and repeating things, I think the focus on community resilience and supporting our residents is key within this. And I'm really pleased to see that it builds upon the work that our fantastic project and award-winning project, Tech Skills for Life, has supported residents with simple things. You can't get the best deals for your gas and electricity unless you go online. And our Tech Skills for Life people support people in that. So this is a further extension of that wraparound, simple support that ensures actually our communities are able to skill up effectively and have that resilience that they desperately need.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No one is indicating. Yes, I think we've had outlined here today another example of where local government is being squeezed by national government. Shire counties are being underfunded at for urban areas who are seeing that their budgets increase. It's regrettable because delivering services in a rural area is much more expensive. That's a fact. And the government talked about fairer funding, but we don't see that it's particularly fair for shire counties such as our own, which is regrettable. And we have to rely more and more on what we can raise in council tax, which is a burden on our council taxpayers in order to fund all the services that we want to provide for the residents of Norfolk. But we will always continue to support those in need. These are great Norfolk initiatives. This council has always been very proactive, and as long as there is a Conservative administration in control here, it will continue to be proactive. I can't speak for other parties, but we will continue to do the best we can for the residents of Norfolk for as long as they lend us their trust moving forward. So the recommendations are on page 180. You have heard those from Councillor Jemison. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you. So we'll move on then to item 10, which is the Norfolk County Council Apprenticeship Strategy 2026 to 28. Starts on page 196 of your agenda, and I'll ask Councillor Fabian Eagle to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm pleased to introduce this report again. I would just like to mention, first of all, although present it from the Growth and Investment team, this is actually a collaboration between Growth and Investment, the Children's Services team and Human Resources to bring this. And I would just like to highlight a few stats about apprentices in Norfolk. This year, or starting the 2024-25 New Starts academic, there is 5,112 apprentices, up 4.4% since the previous year. And our levy scheme, where we ask unused levy to be transferred rather than going back to central government, so it stays in Norfolk, pledged to date, we have had £6.5 million from 39 donating employers, big just local employers and national employers, but based in Norfolk. And we've managed to transfer so far £5.8 million of that, going to supporting 585 apprentices in 265 organisations. The important bit is we're actually making sure that we can give some support to small businesses to give them the willingness and the encouragement to actually take on that apprentice and give them support. And currently Norfolk County Council has 600 apprentices of their own. And to just reiterate, we all just think apprentices, and obviously with the university and the fees for universities concerned and that age group, you can be an apprentice at any age and there's no stop on what you can and cannot do and when you can be an apprentice. So I'll just emphasise there that we want to have a well-educated, ambitious and flexible workforce trained to seize new opportunities, which is the key to business success. Equally, our residents deserve to have the very best opportunities at all stages of their career, to raise their aspirations, gain the relevant skills and qualifications, to progress in challenging and rewarding work roles. Apprenticeships can create these opportunities and provide a clear framework for business to grow, for individuals to progress, and will equip Norfolk with the skills to harness all opportunities. In which case, I do hope and recommend this report to the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this report? I can't see anyone indicating. Apprenticeships are always a fantastic option for those who don't want to go on to university, providing them with skills that will enable that they have good career opportunities. Moving forward, it's fantastic that Norfolk County Council have 600. I think we are an exemplar in terms of councils that do that. And I always say to people, there are so many different careers you can have just working for the county council. Anything from social workers to lawyers. I mean, there are endless opportunities for people who want a good, stable career with an employer who will appreciate them and will look after them in the way that Norfolk County Council do. And of course, we like to grow our own as well. So those who come in as apprenticeships can have a long progressive career ahead of them if they stay with us, and they can go off and do other different things as their career progresses. One thing I will mention is it's regrettable that because devolution has now been delayed, that we won't see the adult skills budget coming to the mayoral combined authority until September 2028. And we had originally anticipated this would happen in September 2027. And if we'd managed to stand up that strategic authority this summer, that would have happened. And now, because of the government's flip-flopping and the delay in the mayoral election, we won't be able to do that till 2028, and that is most regrettable, because the sooner we can actually start using that money to target the sort of skills that employers need in Norfolk and the sort of careers that our young people want, the better. At the moment, it's all decided centrally, and that has got to change. So it's regrettable it won't happen in 27, but we are going to hopefully work towards it happening in 28 once devolution gets over the line later on this year. So the recommendations are on page 198. It's to endorse the proposed Norfolk County Council Apprenticeship Strategy and Operational Delivery Plan, which has been updated for since 23 to 25. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you. So we'll move on to item 11, which is the Thorpe St Andrew Independent Living. Unfortunately, Councillor Alison Thomas can't be with us to present this. But I would just like to say that this is another example of where Norfolk are streets ahead of many other authorities in providing this new option for people who can have independent schemes where they can live in their own homes and know that there is support on site. We have delivered many of these across Norfolk, and they've all seemed to have come at once, a sort of a rush. And I know Councillor Thomas has sort of been running around with spades all over the place, sort of starting the builds on lots and lots of different schemes from Kings Lynn onwards. And unfortunately, that's part of the what happened with nutrient neutrality, because of the that problem that we particularly faced here in Norfolk. It held so many of these schemes up, so all of a sudden they're coming at us in a great rush. But that's no bad thing. Let's get them done. Let's get them open. And this particular scheme in Thorpe St Andrew is housing which will support 87 apartments. And what we're being asked here is to approve a capital contribution from our Independent Living Capital Programme, which we have set aside specifically for this type of scheme. Has anyone got any comments on this? Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I really welcome this report and this development. I've known about this development for many years. I was actually the cabinet member at Broughton District Council when this was discussed many years ago, and obviously nutrient neutrality, as you say, has held this up. So 87 homes is a fantastic achievement. It really is a big part of the transformation of adult social care. But also, if you'd actually look at the locality, the location of the site, it's got a GP nearby, there's supermarkets nearby, it's on a main bus route into Norwich. There's lots and lots to commend this particular site. So I just want to say how welcome I am to see this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this item? No, I think we're all going to be queuing up for some of these most fantastic facilities, quite honestly, and some of us probably sooner rather than later. So I will take you to the recommendations on page 277. Cabinet is recommended to approve £4,393,500 of capital contribution funding from the existing £29 million Independent Living Capital Programme to Housing 21 to support the development and secure nomination rights for 87 apartments in a new independent living scheme for older people in Thorpe St Andrew in Broadland. And to approve in principle a direct care award from the Independent Living and Housing with Care Framework, Lot 1, to Housing 21 in accordance with Schedule 9 of the framework as a condition of the scheme being brought forward and on the basis that Housing 21 are a strategic partner and owner of the independent living scheme. And lastly, to delegate the responsibility to the Director of Strategic Commissioning to complete the relevant contracts with Housing 21. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. We'll move on to item 12, which is the school sufficiency plan for 2026 to 2029. It starts on page 295 of your agenda, and I'm going to ask Councillor Penny Carpenter to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. Norfolk County Council, this is yet another statutory duty to provide sufficient mainstream school spaces and provides an annual update of how these may be secured. The school sufficiency plan identifies the capacity of the mainstream sector only and takes account of census information relating to those schools. It does not include children placed in specialist provisions where not a dual registration across the county, and the census efficiency outlines this information for Norfolk County Council. You will find within your papers data set by district and our view on the existing education commitment that could be required if developments occur. Plus, these papers give a clear indication which areas are experiencing sustainability issues, which link to the demographic decline changes and links to existing education policy in tackling these pressing concerns for all parties. These reports also provide data to guide our capital programme, admissions planning and developer negotiations. So why does this matter? Education infrastructure is essential for large-scale housing developments, and you will find all that data in Appendix A, and I would recommend that all councillors have sight of the appendix at least. So we safeguard sites for new primary schools and phase delivery with the housing occupation. On-site primary schools are critical for new community delivery, but must come into line with housing completions, which is what I would call a watching brief. Housing growth projected by district councils is subject to change, so our plan provides an annual snapshot in time, anticipating the likely investments in new places for the next 10 years. You will also find parental preferencing and turbulence, surplus places, increased pupil movements, destabilising budgets and outcomes. Our active management of pupil admission numbers and catchment is required to maintain financial health and educational standards. This also has a direct financial impact on our transport arrangements and, of course, the costs. This massive piece of ongoing monitoring work really is a balancing act, declining primary cohorts with enabling new schools in strategic growth areas. And any decisions we must take always protect educational outcomes for our children and families while ensuring timely delivery of infrastructure aligned to housing developments. I believe this is my last full cabinet as Cabinet Member for Children's Services, and it has been my honour to represent Children's Services here. I would just like to say that our staff have been very supportive of me, and I wish them all the very best for the future. For me, they are the very best. They are really outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Has anyone else got any comments or questions? Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. To be honest, looking through this document, it blows my mind. It goes right over my head, the complexity of this when you take in planning and you take in all of the work that goes onto it, and you're forgetting what is at the heart of it. It is children, and when you put that onto it, emotions come into it, and the report stands out a little bit more. But I would just like to put on record my comments and thanks to Councillor Carpenter and all her team, because they have been outstanding in what they do. I know I couldn't do it because the emotions and the challenging works that are involved with it all and the complexity of it. But as I said, a real outstanding team, and they deserve great credit in delivering for Norfolk. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to make comment about, as you say, the complexity, exactly as the other councillors said, of this paper is quite mind-blowing in many ways, but it needs to be done to sort of plan ahead. I just want to focus on Rackheath, where I live, and obviously, since this paper was actually published, the plans were approved for 3,850 homes in Rackheath. Obviously, within the plans, it's really important. In phase one, we have a primary school which will be built, but also there's a further primary school and a high school later on over the 20 or 30 years of this development. But I just want to say that's just one element of this report, and obviously it's much bigger than that. But I just wanted to highlight that obviously these developments that we're actually planning for are happening, are being approved, as I say, 3,850 last week. So this is, well, it's an essential document, really, so that we can actually deliver infrastructure for our residents going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I can't see anyone indicating. Yes, I take my hat off to the officers for this very comprehensive report, and that they have to go round this loop every year. We have to balance where we have new housing and the increasing demand that we're going to see in those areas for school places against falling roll numbers in some other places. And we know parents are often anxious because they want to get the school places that they desire for their children. And it can be quite a worrying time for parents. Sometimes councils get criticised that they don't put the infrastructure in first before they build the houses. Well, clearly that's not the case in Rackheath, for example. And in West Winch, we're putting the roads in before any houses are built. So we do think about the infrastructure. We do think about the things that people who are going to be living in those houses need. And to keep on top of the school places is absolutely essential for the future prosperity and education of our children. So I'd like to thank officers for this very comprehensive report. And I would like to point Cabinet to the recommendation, which is on page 295, that Cabinet resolves to adopt the school sufficiency plan for 2026 to 2029. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That is carried. So we will move on then to item 13, which is the Director of Public Health Annual Report 25 to 26, Healthy Ageing, Thriving Through the Years. It starts on page 376, and I'll ask Councillor Fran Weimark to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very pleased to present this report. And first of all, I'd actually like to thank all the team that have worked on this. It's been a big team effort, but particularly today we've got Suzanne Meredith and Lee Watson, who were a major part of this, but also Diane Steiner too. But as I say, there are many, many people involved in this report. It's a well-written, well-presented and well-referenced report. I mean, it's been really looked at in great depth. When we look at healthy ageing, we think, well, what does that mean? It means many, many different things. But we really need to look at this. Where are we now? Where are we going to be in 15 years' time? And actually, when we look at Norfolk, the demographic in Norfolk, we've got one of the oldest demographics in the country. But when we look ahead to 2040, when we say that 30% of our population of Norfolk will be over 65, that brings a focus of where we need to look and what we need to do. There's going to be a major impact of ageing population upon health and their care workforce. So there's lots of things to consider there. We've got a number of people already living 20-25% of their life in ill health. We need to address that. We need to look at what that really means. And also the disparity across the county. You know, if we look across the health inequalities, as I say, in many areas, men are living 9 years less than they would in another area. That's a serious implication for us looking forward. There's lots of things we can do to improve and build healthy communities. We can look at how we work with our communities, and we're doing that to a large extent already, in many, many ways. And I think that the transformation in adult social care will help with this, because we are looking at sort of communities, neighbourhoods. That's what we're focusing on. Building healthy places and healthy people. Doing simple things, you know, sort of working on prevention around diabetes, muscular disorders, cardiovascular disease and respiratory things. Falls, we're doing that already. Lots and lots of things we're doing, but also working with our partners. But that is so important, to work with our partners to develop age-friendly communities. So lots and lots of things here within the report. I could go on and on really, but I probably have to an extent, sorry. But this is about being, we talk about better together for Norfolk. This is absolutely what it's about. But actually, I go back to the earlier paper about independent living as well. As a council, as a Conservative council, we've done an enormous amount to build independent living units. So far, we've built 603 for people over 65, and obviously we've put another 35 million in only recently to build another 532. I think that's really important to recognise that within the context of the paper. So I take to the recommendations, they're on page 377. It's for Cabinet to note the report and the recommendations within it, and also to consider the implications of the report and the findings for Norfolk residents, which I think we're doing already, as I say, within the independent living, but many, many other things too. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this report? No, I can't see anyone indicating. No one is going to tell you off for your passion, Councillor Wymark. I think we're all quite clear where you stand on this issue, and I thank you for all that you do in the public health space. I know that you're very experienced and you're very passionate, as you have already said. We do have an ageing population in Norfolk. You're right, we have to acknowledge that. People are living longer. We can treat more medical conditions, and that's all a really good thing. But we need to be ready for the challenges, and there certainly are going to be more challenges as we move forward. And the thing I think that worries me the most is that we do have a bit of a mismatch across the county about different populations having different outcomes, and as a Norfolk County Councillor that covers the whole of the county, we can move resources about to make sure that no one gets left out, that we can target these things. And the worry is that if we don't have a single county unitary under local government reorganisation, that we may see new boundaries put in place and we may see some areas suffer as a result of that, because there will be a postcode lottery if that happens. Very important that big public services like adult social care and children's services are kept together. That's the way that they succeed, is by being big enough and robust enough to be able to target the resources where they're needed. So we do ask the Secretary of State to take all of that into account when he makes his decision on local government reorganisation. So you've heard the recommendations. They are on page 377. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 14, which is the Great Yarmouth Transport Strategy and the Kings Lynn Transport Strategy. Opposite ends of the county, but equally as important. Starts on page 456, and I'm going to ask Councillor Graham Plant to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I am pleased to introduce the new transport strategies for Kings Lynn and Great Yarmouth. These strategies will replace those that were developed in partnership with the respective borough councils and adopted in 2020. Since their adoption, the latest overarching local transport plan has been adopted, and this describes the council's strategy and investment priorities for transport. Both these new strategies reflect the local transport plan, changes in national transport policy, and changes in people's travel patterns since the pandemic. As before, they have been developed in partnership with the borough councils. Key achievements for the towns under the previous strategies have included, in Great Yarmouth, the opening of the new Herring Bridge in February 2024, an improvement to the Great Yarmouth Railway Station access junction, and an improvement to the A47 Harfreys roundabout to complement the new Herring Bridge. A key outcome of the new bridge is that there has been a 42% reduction in motor traffic on the Haven Bridge. In Kings Lynn, there has been significant investment in the development of the West Winch Housing Access Road, the Sustainable Transport and Regeneration Scheme, STARS, for which a £19 million DFT contribution has just been secured, and a raft of local cycling and walking infrastructure plan schemes. Having adopted transport strategies in place will help support funding applications for transport schemes. This is because they clearly set out the local vision and objectives for the towns. Stakeholder engagement events have been held during the development of the transport strategies, and a 6-week public consultation was held in autumn 2025. All feedback received during the strategy development and via the public consultation has been duly considered, and the key changes made are set out in the Cabinet report. The documents include a full list of schemes that will deliver the strategies, subject to identifying suitable funding sources. At the start of the documents, there is a very short abstract section which sets out the wider strategic needs and the key local transport needs that will assist in delivering the strategies. We are asking Cabinet to adopt the Kings Lynn and Great Yarmouth transport strategies, and I hope that you can support the transport strategies and will be pleased to hear any comments you have on them. The recommendations are on page 457, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report, please? Councillor Carpenter.
Well, I think it's extremely important to have that vision to improve the areas that we all live and work in. I know my colleague mentioned Herring Bridge. That has been an amazing success, and for the transport around Great Yarmouth, it has completely changed the face of where all the queues are now. And if it's closed, there's probably more queues. But it's just a wonderful piece of infrastructure. And I'm all for improving, and I fully support this paper today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No one is indicating. Yes, King's Lynn and Great Yarmouth are some of our major population centres. Each one is unique. They are slightly different to each other. Sometimes people say, well, you know, what does the County Council ever do for King's Lynn? Well, here we are. The STARS project is an example, and we're also doing things like investing in the library there as well. And similarly in Yarmouth, the Herring Bridge has been mentioned. I remember going to the opening. It was a lovely sunny day, fortunately. We all went trooping across it in various vintage cars. It was quite an occasion, and lots of people were able to walk across that bridge and see the massive improvement and the massive investment that this council put into Great Yarmouth. It's sad, when I used to work there, I wished we'd had the Herring Bridge when I worked there, because it used to take me ages to work my way round onto the quay there. And now you can just go straight across Herring Bridge. It's fantastic. And of course we have the place as well. So another example of where we are investing in places like Great Yarmouth. I think that Norfolk County Council, of course, has the financial heft to be able to do this. That's what we do as a council. People sometimes look at our borrowing and say, why have you got all this borrowing? It's because we build stuff. We invest for the future. We pay it back over many years, and we pay it back at a very low rate because we are able to borrow money on that basis. It worries me that smaller unitaries will not be able to do that, and Norfolk will suffer as a result, because they will not be able to deliver such large and important schemes. And Norfolk needs those schemes. We need to keep moving forward. We need to keep investing. So this is a great report. I thank you very much for it. And I will point you to the recommendations. The recommendations are on page 457. There are 3 of them. I'm not going to read them all out. They are on the page in front of you. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 15 is the West Winch Housing Access Road. It's a scheme update. It starts on page 732. This is another big project for this council. Can I ask Councillor Graham Plant to please introduce the report?
Thank you, Chairman. This report provides an update on our West Winch Housing Access Road project and sets out proposed next steps. This project is essential for reducing congestion on the A10, improving the A47 south of King's Lynn, removing heavy traffic from the village of West Winch, and supporting the delivery of up to 4,000 new homes. One of the long-standing technical requirements for the scheme is the diversion of 2 high-pressure gas mains owned by National Gas Transmission. This work has been factored into the project's budget and timetable for several years. You'll remember that last autumn, National Gas Transmission provided a revised cost estimate of £24.5 million for the diversion works, more than double the figures shared in 2024 and some 600% higher than their first cost estimate provided to the Council. An initial update on this issue was provided to Cabinet in December, and since then National Gas Transmission has told the Council that the £24.5 million figure should be treated as an upper limit for these diversion works. This confirmation means that we can now finalise an agreement with our partner, Homes England, which would see them provide additional funding of £10.5 million to cover the majority of the increased cost. Resolving this matter promptly has been important to avoid significant delays to the project, which in itself could have increased costs. We are yet to see the final figures for the gas main diversion work from National Gas Transmission, and we are hopeful that this will reduce from the £24.5 million limit allowed for in our budget provision in the project. In the meantime, and with planning permission for the road already secured, the position reached with Homes England means the project can continue to progress. Subject to Cabinet's approval of the recommendations in the report, work to divert the mains gas is expected to begin in the spring and to be completed ahead of the main road construction starting next year. So it's not already started as described by the BBC this morning, unfortunately, but that's a typo, I expect. You may have seen some news in the last few days that Hopkins Homes are no longer involved with the West Winch growth area development. To be clear, this does not affect our plans for the housing access road. Planning approval to build up to 1,110 homes on the site has been granted, and this can be brought forward by any developer. And it's not unusual for the developers associated with housing sites to change. The report we are considering today sets out the background, financial implications and proposed next steps for the housing access road in more detail, and I commend it to my fellow Cabinet members. The recommendations are on page 733.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? No, no one is indicating. When we realised that the price for the moving the gas main was going through the roof, we wrote to National Gas, and I'm very pleased that they've been most cooperative and that we now seem to have an upper limit on that figure. I know moving gas main isn't a cheap thing to do, but it is essential if we're going to build this particular scheme. And I would like to thank Homes England for their extra contribution to make sure that we can get this scheme to go ahead. It is essential for the Kings Lynn area that we get that vital infrastructure, taking the relief off West Winch and the A10 and build those extra homes that are so much needed in that area. But I would like to just point out that although the Kings Lynn and West Norfolk Borough Council are claiming credit for the West Winch scheme, that this scheme would not have happened without Norfolk County Council. It is a Norfolk County Council scheme, and it is us who will carry it over the line. So you have been told the recommendations are on page 733. There are 3 of them. I'm not going to read them out. I'm going to ask Cabinet if they will approve those, please. Agreed. Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 16, which is the Highways Capital Programme 2026 to 2030 and the Transport Asset Management Plan. And it starts on page 746. This is the Councillor Graham Plant show, because I'm going to ask him to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I am pleased to present the Highways Capital Programme for 26 to 2030 and the updated Transport Asset Management Plan. Our highways and transport network is essential to everyday life in Norfolk. It supports our economy, connects our communities, and enables residents, businesses, and visitors to move safely and reliably around the county. Maintaining this network properly remains one of the most important responsibilities we have. This year's programme comes with the benefit of a multi-year funding settlement from government, giving us greater certainty and, importantly, a significant uplift in the later years. As this report outlines, we will be receiving between £58 million and £83 million a year. Having this certainty means we can invest even more in the proactive, preventative maintenance that we pride ourselves on and which is proven to stop potholes forming rather than constantly repairing them. Alongside this, we continue to invest in the priorities of our local transport plan, improving active travel, supporting public transport, and enabling sustainable growth. We've already seen strong results, such as increased bus passenger numbers thanks to our bus service improvement plan, and more people than ever walking and cycling in areas where we have delivered active travel schemes. Major projects such as the West Winch Housing Access Road that we have just discussed remain key components of the programme, and now is the perfect time to also highlight 2 key announcements that have come out since the Cabinet report was published. First, the news that the Government has formally approved the Council's capitalisation direction in respect of the Norwich Western Link, a decision which removes a key area of financial uncertainty for the Council and provides clarity about the impact of costs already incurred. And second, the secured funding of £18.73 million from Government towards our Kings Lynn STARS Sustainable Transport and Regeneration Scheme project, which aims to make it easier to walk and cycle around the town and improve Baxter's Plain public space in the town centre. This significant national investment, combined with a £2.8 million local contribution, will bring nearly £21 million of improvements to Kings Lynn. Overall, as I'm sure you will agree, this 4-year plan strengthens the resilience of our network, supports economic growth, and ensures we are investing wisely for the future. And the recommendations are on page 748, Chairman.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask Councillor Plant, really, the infrastructure and the extra funding that that you've achieved in coming into Norfolk, obviously it's great work by yourself and the officers, but when it comes to infrastructure and new road developments and, what should I say, outside bodies or other agencies that have access in digging up roads, etc., and yet Norfolk County Council gets the blame for it, how do we alleviate and how do we implement this without getting the negative, if you know what I mean? Because lots of these structures and lots of these are improvements, and they are, as I said, Conservative-led. We are getting this funding in for it. Yourself has worked hard to get all this. And these are all going to be extra implements and are all going to be good for Norfolk. So how do we introduce these positives into our road structure without, as I said, people getting angry or upset about them? Because I know some people do get very frustrated, and that's fair, but 9 times out of 10, it's not us. And these other agencies do the works on our assets. I wondered how we can dissolve that issue sometimes and get the right message out there.
Yeah, interesting question, isn't it? Because we have an awful amount of build going on in Norfolk at the moment. We've got the A47, which is National Highways. It's not us. But all those villages around it are us. So therefore, the damage that's being caused by the extra traffic that's going on there, the extra heavy vehicles that would normally go on the A47 is an issue that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And we do get regular emails from residents complaining about the state of the roads in their particular village or area, basically because of the increase in traffic while these major works go on. But these major works we've campaigned for years. We started 20 years ago on trying to get the A47 dualled. This is part of it, and unfortunately we have to put up with some pain whilst that is done. I think once the work is done, you'll see an immense improvement, not only in the villages around there, but it gives us a chance to get in there and repair the roads more permanently than they are at the moment. At the moment, it is a patch job because at the end of the day, it's not built for the kind of traffic that's on it, but we have to do that. They have to have somewhere to go, and people have to take deliveries, they have to live their lives. So it is important that we continue to repair whilst these big schemes are going on. You've got to remember that to get these big schemes, we've been campaigning for years and years and years. The third river crossing at Great Yarmouth, the Herring Bridge, started for me 20 years ago when I sat down in a room in Great Yarmouth and we were talking to the people on Queen's Road about them losing their homes for the line of the third river crossing. So it's not something that starts immediately. We get something going, and it's many, many years in the development. 10 years ago, we probably had 10 utility companies that would dig up the roads. We now have 70. 79, my apologies. I've just been given the final number by the director. 79 utility companies now have the right, under emergency powers, to dig up the road should one of their utilities fail. But you'd want that. If it's a gas main, you don't want an explosion. If it's water, you don't want floods. If it's sewage, you don't want sewage in the streets. These are important elements to take into account. What we've got at the moment, the others, are usually communications, whether they be city fibre or something like that. So from that point of view, it's about putting in new infrastructure that everybody wants. Everybody wants broadband. Everybody wants to have Wi-Fi and the modern facilities. But their kit needs repairing. Their kit needs updating as well. And so we're working in a world where we plan our work out over the year of what we're going to do to improve the network and what the major bodies are going to produce. But we work in a system where a utility company can close a road and then tell us 24 hours later that that's what they've done. And that may well be already on a diversion route. So it does cause problems, but we are working with the utility companies. I know the directors have meetings with them on a monthly basis to try and sort out how they keep the roads open, how they keep them moving, and how we have all the infrastructure that's needed to make sure that the county can run smoothly. So yes, it is complicated. Yes, it is frustrating. I get no end of frustrated residents emailing me with their frustration, but we try to work with them to try and make sure that we have county that's up to date, gets the infrastructure it deserves, because you've got to remember, for 50 years we've got nothing. So I'm not going to decry the fact that we're actually getting money spent in Norfolk to improve what people in Norfolk get. So I think it's a good question, and thanks for the opportunity to be able to explain a little bit about how we try and maintain the roads.
Thank you. Councillor James.
Thank you. I feel like I need to be a bit more positive following on from that, and I'm really, really excited. I'm going to go a little bit parochial, because whilst we sit here as a cabinet and we see the big strategic picture, all of us are elected to represent our little areas of Norfolk, and I'm really excited looking at these papers today. We've got the design and delivery of a crossing in Thetford that's been long fought for, and actually I have to say thank you very much to my predecessor in Thetford West, who helped fight for that as well, but we're seeing that delivered in the coming financial year. The expansion of services in Thetford under the BSIP funding has been incredible, and really pleased to be able to support some additional bus stops, covered bus stops, so we don't have to stand there with our umbrellas up, because let's face it, it has been a bit wet lately, and that will be really appreciated by our residents. And I'm really excited to see the provisional commitment to our support for Greater Angula's bid for access for all, particularly at Thetford Station, because I know that is a bugbear for so many residents utilising that site. You can get on and off in your wheelchair on one side. It's a bit trickier on the other side of the station, and actually we need people to be able to choose how they move around our county, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, and supporting that will be really considerable. And then also the Thetford Town Centre to High Lodge route that's also put in there. I know that's been a really important conversation point of the, and I can never remember what it's now called. It's no longer town plan, it's no longer neighbourhood board. Is it places? I can't remember what it's called anymore, but the 20 million that's coming into Thetford, that neighbourhood board is also supporting that route. So it's about partnership working, and I know that will make a real difference for people getting in and around the town and out and about. So I'm really excited to see those projects on that listing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. No, me too. I must say I'm being parochial too. But I'd like to talk about the B1150, where we've got significant improvements there. Obviously in Coltshaw there's a new crossing going on in there. And also at the Spixworth Junction, I think many people would know, if they've tried to get out of Spixworth in the morning, it's very, very difficult indeed. So I know we've been looking at it myself. I've met with engineers there in the past. And also I know Jerome Mayhew, MP, he's been involved too. I mean, it's right on the edge of my division, but nonetheless, it makes a significant impact on the local area. So seeing improvement there and £1 million being put towards that is fantastic. So I just want to say how pleased I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Plant.
Yeah, just to say, I think it's really important that members do read this report, because there's an awful lot in it about what's going to be happening over the next few years as far as local transport is concerned, as far as the highways are concerned, as far as active travel is concerned. Active travel is probably one of the most, along with potholes and street works, is one of the keeps my inbox busy with people not seeing any need for cycleways or walkways or anything else like that. But that is the way this country is going. Every single traffic scheme that we do in the county now has to have an element of wheeling, walking and cycling attached to it, or the money does not come forward from Active England, or we don't get the improvements that they bring as well. So I think it's important that the public recognise that the active element of us doing works on the highway is statutory now. It's not something we've got a choice about. It's statutory if we want to get these works done, and therefore I think it's really important that if people have got opinions about where these cycleways and walkways should go and how they can be improved, get involved and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, I totally get your point there, Councillor Plant. We do receive some quite unfair criticism from certain quarters when we're trying to put in new cycleways and improvements on the road. Not everybody agrees with it. I appreciate that, but this is the directive that we're given, and there's a lot of red tape in local government, and we have to manoeuvre within it, and we try and get as much money, leverage as much as we can into our county to improve things for our residents. And when I talk to people outside of Norfolk about just how big Norfolk is, we're over 2,000 square miles as a county, and we have over 6,000 miles of road. And others are always a bit shocked and horrified when they realise just how big Norfolk is, and just what a good job our department does here. And I'd like to thank the director for that. Independent surveys put us second in the country for repairing potholes. When you tell people, they don't believe you, but I say, well, you just go across the county line and have a look at somebody else's potholes, and you'll realise just how good Norfolk are at actually maintaining our roads. And our bus service, I think it's improved by about 26%, hasn't it? Manchester were sort of lauding it, saying they've improved theirs 5%. I said, well, come and have a look and see what we do. And we haven't had to completely rejig the whole system as some MPs would like us to do. We actually work in partnership with those bus companies to get a proper network of bus services and help people access public transport. National highways, yes, we get a lot of complaints about what's going on the A11 at the moment. We need the whole of the A47 dualled. We need people to be able to get about in our county. As I said, it's a very big place. And so, of course, we're going to have to see some disruption while that happens. We have to fund a lot of the programmes that we do ourselves up front and at risk. So the Norwich Western Link is a prime example of that. And we do that in good faith, working with government, only to have the rug pulled by another government, Quango, who decide that they just don't want us to do it. Now, government at least have recognised the impossible position we were put in, and they've underwritten the costs with the capitalisation directive. But really, we should be building that Norwich Western Link right now. And if the government departments could actually agree on something, then that's exactly what we would be doing, and we would be completing that ring road around Norwich. Utility companies, yes, about 75% of roadworks. Utility companies, this traffic jam is brought to you courtesy of Anglian Water or Cadent or whoever it is, not Norfolk County Council. The Department for Transport Select Committee did make some recommendations about better coordination and putting the onus on utility companies to work with us. They were all rejected by the government. That's such a shame, because if we could have actually had a bit more control over what happens in our county, then perhaps we wouldn't get quite so many complaints about it. So we're all local members. I know we sit here as a cabinet, but we're all local members. We all look after our own patches when we go back home. I've got 2 crossings going forward in my area, one at Brook, which I knew was going to happen, which services the school, and a new one which I wasn't anticipating, but the money has come forward. I'm very grateful for that at Thurton, again, where we get a lot of school children crossing. It's absolutely fantastic because it's what local people want, and as members we're able to fund some of the reports that go into checking what sort of crossings we should get and whether they're actually required in those locations. And I was pleased to be able to fund the report into the Thurton crossing, which has helped to get that over the line. And all members can do that. All individual members can do that. Use that budget that we are given, £11,000 a year, to actually fund some investigation into where we can make those highways improvements. So these are the aspirations of a Conservative council in this document, and we hope that we will be able to make sure that all of these things happen. It's going to be down to the general public whether they allow us to take these forward after the elections. We will wait and see. But these are the sort of things that a Conservative administration will do for you and offer you, and I wholeheartedly agree with the recommendations, and I'd like to ask Cabinet if they would agree with them. They're on page 748. There are 3. I'm not going to read them out. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you. So we'll move on again. It's Graham Plant again in the hot seat. Item 17, the Highways Parish Partnership Scheme 2026-27 starts on page 788. Over to you, Graham. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So my final paper for today, and a really important one for our local communities, is this year's Parish Partnership Programme report. We are committed to supporting our local communities and delivering highways projects that make a real difference to people right across the county. Sometimes it's the small projects that make the biggest difference, and this year we have approved 99 new highway improvement schemes right across the county. These are projects that make a genuine difference to everyday journeys across the county. This programme has been running for 15 years now and continues to be one of our most successful ways of working directly with town and parish councils to deliver the changes that matter the most to residents. Whether that's improving pedestrian safety, slowing vehicle speeds, or making it easier for people to walk, cycle and access essential services. Since its launch in 2011, the Parish Partnership Scheme has delivered a total of 1,472 local highways improvements. This year's programme represents a total investment of just over £769,000, made possible through our long-standing 50-50 funding model. Our town and parish councils are contributing around £384,500, which we are matching. Pooling our funds means we can deliver far more small-scale schemes than we could on our own, and this programme is a perfect example of how we are working better together for Norfolk. And the recommendations that are on page 793 are to 1, to approve the 68 local schemes listed in Appendix B for inclusion in the Parish Partnership Programme for 26-27, and 2, to approve the 31 vehicle activated sign schemes listed in Appendix C for inclusion in the Parish Partnership Programme for 26-27. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to thank the Cabinet member for this and all the team, because I see Winterton is in there for about £19,000 worth of improvements, and that is a wonderful little parish with a wonderful beach, and I can't advertise it too much because that's in my part. So, yeah, that is a wonderful little village, and I thank all the team for allowing that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wymart.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, once again, I think this is a great scheme. It's been running for many years, and I've been very pleased over the years to support many parishes with improvements. You know, through the Member Highways grant, as you say, we get £11,000, and it's about how we distribute that, and we can help support these, particularly smaller parishes who have very small precepts. So I think it's really important to do so. So I'm really pleased to see Halstead and Salhouse on there, and I'm sure, I know, over previous years, most of my parishes have been supported one way or another. So long may it continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Plant, your microphone's still on, just saying. Okay. No one else is indicating. This is an excellent scheme. It's a way that parishes can spend some of that Section 106 and SIL money that they often receive and then are not quite sure how best to utilise it. We can help them with that, and we can boost that pot as well so that they can get bigger and better schemes. And I would encourage all parishes to have a look at this as a way forward for getting those little improvements that they want, that their local residents want to see. The vehicle activated signs are a great idea. I mean, speeding is the bane of my life. I'm always banging on about it in my division. I'm sure you are in yours. I just don't understand why people can't do 20 miles an hour in a village or a town setting. There's no need to go any faster. You don't get the other end any quicker. All you do is risk the lives of the pedestrians who are trying to traverse the same route at the same time. And I know that some people would like us to see more police cameras that actually fine people who break the speed limit, but they are hugely expensive. We're looking £70,000-80,000 upwards for each one, and then to actually service them is about £3,000 a year, so I understand it. So it's hardly surprising that we don't see more of those. But we could do with a bit more enforcement. I have spoken to the Police and Crime Commissioner about it. If we could have some more enforcement in some of those areas where we have a particular problem, I think it would help, because although some MPs, very naively in my opinion, think that we should just reduce limits everywhere, that doesn't actually solve the problem. And if the police are not going to enforce the limit, then reducing the speed limit is not going to solve the problem. So this is a good report. It shows how parishes can help themselves and how the Norfolk County Council will support them moving forward. I'd like to move you to the recommendations now, which are on page 789. There are 68 local schemes in Appendix B for the Parish Partnership Programme for 26-27 and 31 new vehicle-activated signs in Appendix C for inclusion for 26-27. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 18, the Environmental Policy and Environment Strategy for Norfolk County Council. Starts on page 801, and Councillor James Bensley will introduce the report, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Forgive me if I cough or croak during this little introduction. Don't worry, it's not man flu, it's just a little cold, so I should successfully manage this. Good morning, everybody, and thank you. Welcome for this. Norfolk is an extraordinary county. We are fortunate to be custodians of the remarkable landscapes, historic places, and the communities that care deeply about both. The good fortune carries responsibility, and today's environmental policy and environmental strategy sets out how we will meet it. This policy establishes a clear and modern framework of how Norfolk County Council will protect, manage and enhance our natural and historic environment, not only for today but for generations to come. It reflects our ambition to lead by example, to manage our own estate with nature in mind, to safeguard the assets that define Norfolk's character and to ensure responsible access so residents and visitors can continue to enjoy our county all year round and enjoy it the best that has to offer. The strategic's 5 pillars give us focus and direction. They recognise the meaningful progress depending on partnership and collaboration across communities, organisations and sectors. Importantly, the work supersedes the 2019 policy and ensures that environment considerations are fully embedded into decision making across the council. This is about stewardship. It's about balance and it's about long-term thinking, protecting what matters special to Norfolk while supporting and thriving accessibility and a resilient county. I commend the work that has been done in joint working with Suffolk as well to deliver this. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Leader, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? Councillor Plant.
Yeah, thank you. I've just spoken previously about a lot of infrastructure and schemes that we need in Norfolk to enable economies to grow and everything else. And I think you'll find that this is integrated within them reports as well, so that the environment is taken into consideration when we do highways works, when we build new roads and everything else. I think it's really important that we do that because we do want to maintain and enhance what Norfolk has got. But we also need to build an environment where we can develop our people, develop our infrastructure and our environment. So, yeah, welcome the report.
Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. If I can come back on that. I think us as an administration has learned that we can't put in policies that are barriers to when Norfolk is growing. I mean, she's such an amazing county, and with us here, we can't have things that pause up developments. If there's opportunities out there for us to get funding from central government, then us as Conservatives will go out and collect it. But we're doing it in a balanced approach, and I thank you for your question, Councillor Plant. And this hopefully will give us direction and really enthuse and stimulate growth and investment for Norfolk, whilst keeping the environment as she is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No, I mean, we all acknowledge that we live in a beautiful county and we're very, very fortunate to be able to do so. And we need to protect our countryside, our coastline and our wildlife. I understand that our planting of trees is around about 700,000 now, Councillor Bensley, which is a fantastic effort. I know we're still working towards that ultimate million goal. Did you want to update us on that?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for bringing that in. As of yesterday, it was 729,501, with the aim from my team is to get up to 750,000 by the end of March. So I thank you and all Cabinet and all councillors, members and officers of Norfolk County Council in delivering that so much, because I believe that is a monumental achievement. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. I agree. I mean, 750,000 trees in this administration is fantastic. So I take my hat off to the officers, and I would like to know where the one is. Who gets that in their division? But all of this, we achieve all of this without declaring any emergencies. And we see some councils declare an emergency, a bit of virtual signalling goes on, and then they don't do anything about it. This council, actions speak louder than words, and we will continue to protect our environment as long as it is our responsibility to do so. So thank you very much, Councillor Bensley. The recommendations are on page 801 to 802. We're asked to review and comment on the strategy and the policy documents and recommend that this be approved and adopted, and that full council will approve and adopt this after us. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So item 19 then is the Norfolk Coast National Landscape Management Plan 2025 to 2030. Starts on page 857, and back to Councillor Bensley to introduce this, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This is the Norfolk Coast National Landscape, formerly Norfolk Coast Area of Outstanding Beauty. It is under National Parks and the Countryside Act of 1949, and it is managed by Coastal Partnership on behalf of local authorities. This isn't nothing to do with sea defences and hard structures like that. This is maintaining and managing our beautiful countryside and habitats and environment. I'm not going to say too much else to it because I believe the Deputy Leader wants to come in on this and he has a massive passion for this. So I'll leave it to him, and there is a nice photo of him on page 862 if you'd like to see it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll hand over to Councillor Jemison, who is not wearing his wellies today, I hasten to add.
Yeah, no, I rather prefer older photographs of me than that one. It's rather too recent. But I'm really pleased with this Norfolk Coast Partnership Management Plan. I am, of course, chair of Norfolk Coast Partnership, and the Norfolk Coast is one of the most special and cherished landscapes in the country. And as we look ahead, the Norfolk Coast Partnership is committed to ensuring that this extraordinary area is not just protected, but is actively shaped by those who live, work and visit here. It's a place where nature thrives, but communities flourish, and businesses play an active role in sustaining this unique environment. There's no point in just covering it with aspic. It is a living, thriving place and a community which needs to be helped. So our approach is always one of collaboration and empowerment, people and businesses doing things, not having things done to them. So this management plan sets out an ambitious yet practical vision for the future. It is rooted in shared responsibility and collective action. Recent reorganisation of governance has enabled us to build upon the strong momentum of recent achievements whilst recognising the urgent need to address new challenges, from climate change, biodiversity loss, and to sustainable tourism and economic resilience. Crucially, it is a plan that belongs to the people of the Norfolk Coast, and whether you're a farmer, a fisher, a business owner, a conservationist, a resident or a visitor, your role is vital in delivering its goals. At the heart of our vision is nature recovery. The Norfolk Coast's internationally significant habitats, salt marshes, dunes, wetlands and chalk rivers must be safeguarded and enhanced. We are committed to increasing the area of wildlife-rich habitats, to improving ecological condition of protected sites and supporting nature-friendly farming. These efforts will not only preserve the beauty and biodiversity of our coast, but also create economic opportunities for those who look after the land. And we must also recognise the importance of sustainable development. The way we plan, build and travel must respect the character of the landscape whilst meeting the needs of a changing society. It is through collaboration with local authorities and businesses that we will encourage planning and tourism practices that enhance rather than erode this coast's special qualities. This plan is built on the principle that lasting change happens when people come together. And over the next 5 years, we will empower local communities by providing opportunities to lead and shape conservation initiatives. We will strengthen partnerships between public bodies, businesses, and community groups. We will promote sustainable tourism. We will support businesses in transitioning to practices that benefit the local economy and the natural landscape, and we will adapt to any climate change as necessary. So the Norfolk coast is a place of shared heritage and collective responsibility. Success will not come from the actions of some single organisation or authority. It'll come from all of us working together. The best solutions are not imposed from above. They emerge from the energy, the expertise and creativity of those who care about the place. This plan invites everyone, residents, businesses, farmers, conservationists, visitors and policymakers to be part of this journey. Whether through small, everyday actions or large-scale initiatives, every effort contributes to the long-term health and vitality of our coast. The Norfolk Coast Partnership is proud to champion this vision, but the real work will be done by the people who call this landscape home. Let's make the next 5 years a period of ambition, action and achievement. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As I said, I couldn't have put it better myself, how the Deputy Leader has said about how important our coastal communities are. And can I just say how nicely it ties in with what Councillor Eagle said earlier about hospitality, apprenticeships, the circular economy, tourism, everything that we're trying to... Pardon? Oh, yeah, sorry, well-being as well, mental health well-being. That all ties in so delicately together as social cohesion and tourism, and it is a joy to behold, and it's a really, really exciting document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? Well, we know why people come to Norfolk. They come for our heritage, they come to see the Norfolk Broads, and they come for our fantastic coastline. We always hear about the Norfolk big skies, don't we? Many people paint them, many people photograph them. People love to walk along our beautiful sandy beaches and look at our wildlife. Tourism is a big economic driver for our county, and we need to protect that, but we also need to make sure that our environment is protected at the same time. And what I would really like to do is call on government to help us to actually defend our coastline, because we know that we have the fastest eroded coast in the whole of Europe. I don't think people necessarily recognise that or realise that. And the loss of our coastline is not just a loss to the people of Norfolk, it's a loss to the people of this country. We are such an important part of the natural environment and the heritage of our country, and government need to step up and make sure that our coastline is properly protected in the way that it should be, and not just watch it crumbling into the sea, and the potential for saltwater to be invading our natural wetlands and destroying the wildlife. That's what's at risk here, and we need government to step up and recognise that and do something about it. So, let's look at the recommendations then. They're on page 857. I'm asking Cabinet to approve the Norfolk Coast National Landscape Management Plan 2025-30. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. So we'll move on now. We're now getting to the really interesting stuff, the Finance Monitoring Report 2025-26, P10 for January 2026. Starts on page 922. I'm asking Councillor Andrew Jamieson to introduce this, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it is. I mean, it is a very interesting report. I mean, here we are at period 10, and I'm really pleased to say, and I thank my team, finance team, for doing so, that we're setting a balanced budget. The early pressures that we saw coming to this council, particularly the pressures in children's services, the potential risks that were well highlighted and flagged in adult social care, have been managed extremely effectively, and as a result, we have this balanced position. There's little else to add other than a couple of recent developments. First of all, of course, Norfolk County Council just recently received confirmation that the government has formally approved the capitalisation direction in respect of the Norwich Western Link. Now, this was, as we all know here in Cabinet, a largely technical issue. There have been attempts, of course, to fan the flames of controversy and to make it something that it wasn't. But the important point is that the Department of Transport have accepted the business case or accepted the need for a business case and are providing funding for this part of the project, and that I think is really important. It's important to remember that the Norwich Western Link is part of their large local majors programme of infrastructure project. It is, as such, it is a Department for Transport project for which we are effectively the delivery partner, and we will continue to have the shared goal with the Department for Transport of delivering this economic development, which is so vital for the communities, particularly in the north of Norwich. They are so important to help address the inequalities that are felt consistently by rural communities, and these inequalities need to be addressed, and those communities need to be respected. So the infrastructure already is taking place along the north of the city, and it should be served by a suitable road network. The only other point I would make is on the 24-25 accounts. The auditors have received some new information. I have to say it's not a particularly significant point, but as published on our website, the auditors were unable to conclude their audit by the statutory backstop date, and they were working to conclude this as soon as possible. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? No, nobody is indicating. Well, I think congratulations all round for delivering a balanced budget once again, even in the face of increasing demands and cost pressures placed on this council. I've already mentioned that we do such a lot with so very little, and if we had the sort of funding that we see in other areas, we could do so much more. And I believe that one of our borough councils has had a massive increase all of a sudden out of the blue from government. And didn't you say that if we'd had that sort of funding boost, 14%, it would be something like £300 million?
Yes, that's absolutely correct, Chair. I think that was West Norfolk received a 14% increase, which they announced with their budget paper. As you say, if we'd done that without going through Cabinet or indeed any other form of scrutiny, simply announced to the public that we had another 300 million and we were going to dispose of it as you and I saw fit, I have a feeling that the opposition in this chamber would have been rather more vocal.
Yes, and just think what we could have done with an extra 300 million, guys. You know, wouldn't that be great if we could hand you that? We could do so many great things for Norfolk. We can only wish. So we have a balanced budget. I think even the opposition here at Norfolk County Council will acknowledge our careful stewardship of the services in Norfolk and of the costs that fall on our taxpayers. We are a safe pair of hands. We are the sensible, common sense administration that will steer this ship through these troubled waters. And the risk, of course, is that for the sake of protests aimed at central government, this could be jeopardised at the ballot box in May. So I just make a plea to residents in Norfolk that local government really does matter. It's the services that you rely on day in, day out in your local communities. Think carefully about who you trust to deliver that moving forward in the future. So we'll look at the recommendations now. They are on page 922 to 923. There are 7 of them. I'm not going to read them all out because they're quite wordy. Can I ask Cabinet if they're in favour of these, please?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 21, which is Norfolk County Council Owned Company Business Plans 26 to 27, page 963 onwards, and I'll ask Councillor Jamieson to introduce this, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. So this is part of the usual process of oversight by Cabinet, and I do not intend to comment here on individual plans. They have been scrutinised at length by the company's governance panel, and the leader and I certainly know about that because we were there for an inordinate length of time. But their comments are included in the report. This report now allows the companies to operate in the forthcoming year. They have approved their plans in their respective boards. I should only mention really that all companies are aware of the timetable and the mounting issues in relation to LGR, and they will all respond in their businesses accordingly. I have no other comment to make. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on this report? No, no one is indicated, so I will direct you to the recommendations on page 963. There are 4 of them. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 22, which is reports of the Cabinet member and officer delegated decisions made since the last Cabinet meeting. They are listed on the papers. Has anyone got any comments or questions on these? No, I can't see anyone indicating on that. So we will take those as read. We'll move on to item 23 then, which is the disposal, acquisition and exploitation of property, which starts on page 1043. I know it's a big agenda, 1043 pages. I had to carry it in here, I should know. So before we begin discussing this item, it's been marked as including an appendix which is exempt by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act, because it contains information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. So colleagues, I have to ask you, do we agree that the appendix to disposal, acquisition and exploitation of property should be exempt? That's agreed, yes. So having considered the exempt information, can you confirm if you're confident that Cabinet can reach a decision without discussing the contents of the appendix? That's a yes. So Cabinet can discuss the report without moving into closed session, ensuring no reference is made to any exempt information and resolving to note the exempt appendix. So we'll move on to discussion of the report, and I will ask Councillor Jane James to introduce it, please.
Thank you, Leader. So we heard earlier in this meeting regarding the school sufficiency plan and how it pivots to address the changing needs of our education environment here in Norfolk. This piece today actually, reinforces that and supports that, and asks us to today, if Cabinet approves the acquisition of the Sacred Heart Catholic Primary School site on Spall Road, Swaffham, because we're responding to a local need that you will have seen outlined in that sufficiency report. So please, may we buy it, Cabinet? Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this item? No. The Sacred Heart Catholic Primary School is a site right in the heart of Swaffham. I know it well. I had children who attended at one time when I lived in that area, when I was the councillor for Swaffham, funnily enough. Yes, so the report sets out the reasons for asking for the acquisition of this site. So can I ask Cabinet if they will approve the recommendations on page 1044 to acquire the school site on the terms set out? Agreed. That's agreed. So we don't need to exclude the public because we've already discussed that and made that decision. So that's the end of the meeting, folks. Thank you all for sticking with us. And the next meeting is on Tuesday, the 7th of April. It's at 10 a.m. and it's here in the council chamber. Thank you very much indeed.